We're going to get on to our third topic here, which I know Negation really wants to get into this one. I think this is your topic this week, is chemtrails. So you guys ready to get into the chemtrail video? We're good?
Oh yeah, this one's going to be fun.
Awesome. Here we go.
There is a growing citizens movement demanding an explanation of chemtrails.
And I talked to my NSA buddies at Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, and Buckley, where I was actually their doctor taking care of the pilots flying and spraying the chemtrails. So I know it's real. If anybody says it's not real, they're full of it.
It's not the same as conducting some localized test for some defensive project. This is open air operations. It's not a test. This thing is in place.
It didn't start until about 1996. Exactly. And, growing up my whole life, a condensation trail disappeared, the 20 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. And now it can be in the summer at like 4,000 feet, and there's these big clouds behind jets. Some jets leave it behind, leave a trail behind them. Other jets at the same flight level, same altitude, don't. And instead of just getting into are they spraying us or what's changed in the jet fuel or what's changed in the atmosphere, there are tens of thousands of declassified admissions under different programs where different Pentagon programs, different agencies of the government have tested chemical, biological, and radiological agents on the American people.
Talking about this a few years ago was extremely dangerous. Now that we have YouTube and more social networking devices, such as even Rupert's MySpace, this is really getting out in such a way that they can't control it. They must just be really, if you can use the expression, shitting themselves over this, because they can't control people now talking about the elephant in the room, what is so obvious to all of us.
There's a feeling from that area that the states doing all of these weather modification programs might not be doing it for the benefit of the citizens of Texas and other states that they may impact as well.
Well, many of the planes that we're seeing here in Abilene will actually turn whatever they're spraying on and off right before our eyes. I mean, you'll see a plane up there flying like normal, and then all of a sudden it starts spraying. We've seen them fly off into the distance and then loop around and fly back again. These are not your typical planes with a preordained path destination from city to city. Someone needs to explain to me why do they stop traveling in one particular direction and then loop around and come back again. They perform this behavior so many times that we start seeing the tic-tac-toe grids in the sky. We're witnessing the giant X's. And I mean, Rosalind, when you and I grew up, these contrails naturally dissipated in a few seconds or perhaps a minute max. But these things expand, they grow bigger, and before you know it, the entire sky is overcast.
That's correct. And they are there all day. They do loop the loop around our county and our state. We follow them at times with spotters in different areas, watching the planes loop, come back around, and we know from the FAA records that the jets from commercial airlines fly in straight lines, and coming across our county, there aren't many, and they stay mostly in certain patterns. The jets that we see leaving the persistent jet contrails move in directions that normal jets wouldn't fly because it would use too much fuel and put them off schedule. And the jets that we see here do loops. We've got pictures of them looping the same X's and crosshatches. But I believe that some of that, not only are they looking for keeping something in the air almost all the time, but we feel that some of the markings are to mark the start and stop areas for their programs so that they can watch their experiments either from satellite or the ground.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is, Negation, before you go, is the eerie music they play for these conspiracy theories. You know, these videos, it's a common tactic. Do you ever notice that, though? I just want to put that out there before you go. Silly.
Oh, yeah.
Silly.
It definitely is psychological little...
psychological, yeah.
You know, oh my God, it's the same thing that happens in a horror movie. You know, get everybody amped up just on the music alone. But I mean, being a pilot and being a longtime pilot and, flying quite a few different aircraft, I've made contrails. And be clear, there's no such thing as freaking chemtrails. The closest thing you're going to get to a chemtrail is a crop duster. It's ridiculous. The stupid ass shit that this has grown into. I mean, it's basic physics. What a contrail is the condensation that's formed when the hot, humid air from the exhaust mixes with the cold, low vapor air, the low temperature surrounding air mass. Now, the thing is the reason that it turns off and on, like Jackass is saying that it turns off and on, it's because air is not in any way a uniform. It doesn't have uniform humidity, doesn't have uniform temperature. I don't know how many of you have been flying, but hit turbulence. Yeah, that's because there's pressure differentials, there's temperature differentials, there's humidity differentials. Now, the thing is when you start understanding what makes an airplane fly, it makes perfect sense why at certain altitudes and certain times you're going to have these big, long contrails that are made by the engines. And it's not because the engines are dumping some kind of chemicals. All that's happening is the hot air is making the water particles basically condense and become little clouds.
Do they become crystals too, like crystallized, or no?
They can at high enough altitude. If you're looking at over 30, 40,000 feet, you got to remember, 30, 40,000 feet, you're talking low temperatures. I mean, sub-zero temperatures up there all the time. So when you get that hot, you think about going through a jet engine, that gets really, really hot and then blows out that hot air. Well, that water condenses and then freezes, and now you get stable clouds that are up there all the time. If they happen to be flying at, let's say, an altitude that doesn't sustain the clouds, well, it's real simple. I mean, how many times have you looked out on a lake when it's a really cold day and there's a layer of fog that just sits on top of the lake? It makes absolute perfect sense because the water actually is warmer than the land. So that little fog that comes in over the water, there's enough difference in temperature there to create the fog, which is exactly what a contrail is. Why does it stay there? Well, because the pressure and the conditions are right. If you take steam in your oven or on your stove, you're going to see the little steam come off the top, and then it's going to dissipate. Is that freaking, that's the real contrails, whereas the fake ones, you would have to be boiling off.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone is enough for me just to sit there and laugh my ass off these idiots when, and luckily I've never had anybody actually come in and question me about this. But the thing that amazes me is when you look at these people, these are the people who will sit here and try to use all of this quote unquote science and try to substantiate this with the misuse of science, and at the same time, these, for the most part, are the same people who will deny all the other scientific evidence about global warming and all of this other stuff. It's not because of us. It's not because of the real things that cause global warming. It's because of HARP. It's because of the cross-hatching. Do you happen to have that image that I gave you?
Yep, I'll put it up right now for you. Yep.
Yeah. As far as these people talking about the cross-hatching and why there's, there's checkerboards in the sky. Well, that little image that Live Life is putting up is basically just a very small section. It's over Oakland airspace, and it's what's called a high en route chart. It's IFR chart. That's 18,000 feet and above. Every line on there is basically a highway in the sky. When you're flying those routes, you have to maintain your altitude and have to maintain that line within a very, very specific margin. In fact, if you don't, you'll be talking to the FAA when you get down on the ground. You are under constant surveillance, and you definitely do not break those altitudes and or those lanes that you're supposed to be in. Now, if you notice, look, they cross each other. They would make checkerboards. across the entire United States, there are thousands upon thousands of these, and that's just one level. You got to keep in mind, you got high-end route charts, which what that is. You've got a low-end route chart, which is 18,000 basically to the ground for instrument flight for when there's clouds out. You got VFR charts that have routes on that. You have military charts that are on top of that. All of these are straight lines. Now, they sit there and they say they've got these airplanes doing loops and doing... Do you see any of that shit? Do you see any evidence of them actually turning and coming back? No, you see straight lines going off to the horizon because that's how commercial airlines fly. And because of the way they do it, that's what happens. The other thing is they say that these are just, since like the 80s. That's bullshit. We've had these contrails up since propeller-driven airplanes. In fact, if you look back in World War II, a lot of the ways that the Germans would pick up our bombers is from the flipping contrails. So the meteorologist, before you would take off, would have to look at the conditions and try to find the most advantageous flight level, or where you're going to fly, to try to keep contrails from forming off the frickin' propeller-driven airplanes. It's amazing that these people buy into this shit. And again, like I said, the most amazing part is we're going to use all this science to prove our theory and then throw all the science out the window when it actually comes to real climate change and everything else.
Wow, yeah, that's true. Wow.
So, all right. Matthew, go ahead and then jump in.
It's all clear now. You're a chemtrail pilot.
You're absolutely right. I have been a chemtrail pilot. Oh, I mean contrail.
Contrail. Yeah. He's our aviation, expert, just like how Fox News have their contributors.
Expert, just like how Fox News have their contributors. Expert, just like how Fox News have their contributors.
Who has their thing on? Oh, there we go. Was that a conspiracy theory there? Were you messing around with me, Matthew? That was funny as shit. Look at his eyes. Oh, that's epic, man. That's fucking funny as shit. You scared the shit out of me, too. I like hear this thing. What the fuck's this shit? Oh, that's funny. But no, Negation is our aviation expert. He's our contributor when it comes to aviation knowledge. Is that all, Matthew? You got anything else?
Hold on. I think they're flying over right now. Wait.
NSA or Fox News? Who is it?
Dude, you need to put on your flipping breathing apparatus. You're gonna.
That doesn't work.
Freaking chemicals in there, and they're gonna rot your brain from the inside. You got your.
It doesn't work.
Hat on, but that only protects you from the rays from the outside.
Does it sound like
I have my hat?
Does it sound like rain on your roof?
Yeah, but all of these chemicals that we're spraying. Oh shit! I shouldn't have said we, should I?
I knew it.
No, why'd you do that, man? Come on.
Are going in through your lungs, and that's what's causing all this brain damage.
That's okay. I smoke a lot of weed, and it negates it.
By the way, guys, that is a real theory. That's what's happening. That's one of the reasons that America's dumbing down, because of all of these chemicals that are being sprayed.
Hey, did you hear about that? Like, people are having heart attacks and shit. They're saying people are having heart attacks because of these chemtrails and shit like that. And it's just fucking hilarious. The funny thing is that I don't think there's any doctors or any kind of scientists would support this chemtrail fucking conspiracy theory. So whatever.
Well, dude, think about it.
Of course, it'd be silly to fucking.
How many airline pilots, commercial pilots,
throughout the whole world, throughout the history? Yes, of course.
Military pilots. I mean, dude,
somebody would come out.
Would have to be lying. All of us.
Holy shit! Your lights went out, Matthew. What happened there, dude?
He's hiding, dude. He's like in World War II when the bombers come over, you got to turn out all the lights so they can't target you.
Dude, I'm sorry, man, but it looks like you look like friggin' like R2-D2's friggin' cousin there, with the lights out. This is funny. But we gotta move on here. We gotta get to the crew report. And we gotta get our guest in here. So right, that's funny though. That's epic because you can see the red shining off his little costume there. It looks like little red dots, like lights lighting up.
He's the Borg, man. What are you talking about? Assimilate us.
That's freaking great though. Oh my god.
It's a laser. They're trying to find me.
Yeah, really, right.